Shush, shush. Hello everybody, welcome to another video, and this is a sort of review video. Um, it is unfortunately not a demo video since I can't really show it to you, the product that I wanted to speak about. But first and foremost, just to say a very Merry Christmas to all the channel followers. The channel has continued to grow in a year where I have been rather distracted, and I will be the first to admit, not particularly focused on streaming, but we've banged out a lot of streams, and we have, I think, really enjoyed it and really upgraded the setup that we're using, and also obviously I've been able to demo the PMDG, which has been probably the most exciting thing this year on the channel. I hope you've all enjoyed kind of seeing the evolution of the blind pilots flying the PMDG aircraft. Back in what was it, right at the start of 2020, probably a little bit into 2020, a few months in, when we actually really started getting going with the 7.3 and continuing on from there. And of course, that's had a knock-on effect in that we can do more things on VATSIM now. We can follow instructions more accurately, and so the streams, I would hope, have gotten more educational and more of a quality. I think it's been a really great year as well. BVI Virtual has really grown as well. We have anywhere between 10 to 15 current active members at any one time, given that people, join and leave. And, I know unfortunately that there was a little bit of a hitch with certain people deciding to throw their toys out of the pram. I'll just put it this way, everyone wants to have their own slice of the pie. Everyone wants to have their own airline and think that they're in charge. And if they want to do that, I'm perfectly happy to let them. To be honest, as I've always said, if you want to fly a paper plane around your room and call it flight sim, go ahead, be my guest. I couldn't really care less. BVI Virtual is probably better off without that kind of thing. So we'll let that happen. That's not a problem. And here at BVI, we continue to have these wonderful events, and we continue to have a varying range of pilots, from people who are still learning the ropes and still coming in, to people who use VATSIM and the PMDG. There's a bit of a misconception, I think, that BVI Virtual is not for beginners. It's for a certain type of beginner. Certain type of beginner who is willing to read up and not ask for hand-holding, which is not what we're about, but willing to watch tutorials, ask sensible questions, and go from there. And I am still very convinced that there is a community out there of BVI pilots who are actively flying or who are looking to get into it that we just don't know about. I think people get a bit tied in that, okay, we've got this BVI pilots group or Discord or whatever it might be, and there's so many people on here, these are the BVI pilots. Absolutely not. I've seen this year several people join BVI Virtual who, to be honest, I'd never heard of before. And, I was expecting them to be complete beginners, but they came in and they were competent. They went on VATSIM and they were flying with us during events. Yeah, that was really incredible for me to see, because it proved that there are people out there who are able to start this, and you don't need to have your hand held. If you want that, go to somewhere else. Go to one of these other pop-up airlines that seem to be appearing. But if you're willing to read up about it and ask sensible questions and that kind of thing, I hope that BVI is for you. And that's continued to expand as well alongside the PMDG and the stream. As I say, this year's been a very busy year for me, so I haven't been focused on streaming as such, but we've got to stream in when we can. It's not been a consistent schedule. I can't promise that next year either will be a consistent schedule. Again, it's going to be quite a busy year. I think during next summer particularly, I will have a lot more time to do this, to fly. You'll notice whilst I'm at university, there are periods where for a few months you don't hear from me on the YouTube. I'll still be around on the main groups, but not on YouTube. Obviously streaming probably. And then for a few months I'll pop back up and be doing some streams. Just like it is now, I'm here for the Christmas vacation and I've been doing some streams. I'm obviously putting out this video. So that's how it's going to be. Make sure if you want to put notifications on, follow the Twitter, you know the drill. If you want to keep them kept informed, because I can't put up a schedule. Right, so yeah, thank you for all the support this year. It's been wonderful. People interacting in chat as always, and the channel continues to grow. I always said I didn't really expect much of a blind flight simulation channel when I started. We don't really do many other games. I'm not really interested in other games particularly, but I think it's gotten more educational than anything, and we've gotten a lot closer to the real world. So if you want to see the real world procedures and how we do them as close as possible, then I mean, heck, we even did a video on Pilot Edge, right? I mean, that's you can't get any better than Pilot Edge. I did a couple of flights on that, so maybe we'll get back on that when I have a bit more time. But that's really showing you how far we've come from us doing, what did we do? Eurofly videos. Hopefully Eurofly 3 will be around next year as well. I'm not particularly interested in it too much myself. I'm not sure how realistic it will be. I think it will be quite a bit more realistic, but probably not to the standards of P3D. But we will do some videos on it, and I know some people like that on here, and I really hope that it turns out to be a great sim that can be a gate. I know it's a game right now. I hope it turns into a bit more of a sim. That can be a bit of a gateway to P3D where people can really get an idea. Right now it's more like a game/arcade thing. It's not really a simulator. So I hope that changes. Indications are so far that it might be quite a bit better, but we will have to see. So now to the product that I'm reviewing. I'll put a timestamp in the description or in the title or something so people can skip past that part if they don't want to see it. So the product I wanted to talk about has a rather stupid name. It's called the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, but it's essentially a base transducer. And I wanted to just give you the pros and cons of this. So basically, I was sitting here the other week, thinking kind of, well, what can I get to improve my setup as a sort of Christmas present? I have a good set of speakers, I have a good headset. We have all these aircraft and add-ons, and I thought, well, one of the things that we don't quite get that sided simmers get is this perception of various things visually, whether it be depth, whether it be turbulence, whether it be touchdown. Now, yeah, sure, we get them through sound, but it's just missing something, right? And I thought, well, the only thing that could really give us that is some kind of motion sim. And now they're ridiculously expensive and that's not practical. So I thought, well, how could we maybe get some kind... Oops, that's my phone. How could we maybe get some kind of imitation of motion? And I looked into it, and one of the cheaper ways that this can be done without having a full sim and paying thousands and thousands of dollars, anywhere from thousands to millions, for a full real flight deck sim, is a base transducer, which you strap to the bottom of your chair. So the way this works, the Butt Kicker Gamer 2 was about a couple £100, and you get a bunch of cables, which I'll go into shortly, and you get a clamp with it, and you get the base transducer itself, and it is designed for office desk chairs, and you attach the clamp to the base of your chair, the post, basically the metal post towards the top, I guess, of your chair. And then you put the butt kicker, which is about the size, probably the palm of my hand or so. It's kind of a round circle. It's kind of got indents around the side. It's made of metal, and it is obviously got the speaker inside of it, kind of, or whatever. I guess it's a speaker or subwoofer, kind of thing. And you make sure it's nice and tight. And then you connect it to the PC, so you have a cable to connect the butt kicker or transducer to the amplifier that they send. They send a 130 watt amplifier, which doesn't make a sound itself, but interprets the audio and sends it to the device. And then you have a cable going from the amplifier to the PC via an RCA to 3.5 cable, and then I have a splitter to connect my speakers and the boat kicker to the PC via 3.5. And that is pretty much it. It's not too difficult to set up. And what this thing does is it kind of acts like a subwoofer. Obviously, subwoofers give you extra bass, but this moves air to essentially create bass and movement by low frequencies. So whether that be ground roll, whether that be gear extension and retraction, flap extension and retraction, touchdown, turbulence, or engine roar, whatever it may be, it interprets those real low frequencies and puts them into your chair so that you can really feel when you're throttling up and you can feel the turbulence, etc., etc. And so in that way, it adds a simulation of movement. Your chair doesn't move, but you feel on the seat of your chair, coming up through the chair, the aircraft really sort of touching down and whatever it's doing, it gives you a sense. Now, I can't say that it's a replacement for movement. It's not like you're going to feel like you're really moving as such, but it's kind of like a fixed base simulator, but with some kind of obviously like a butt kicker, and I know a lot of sims that are actually full flight decks do have this. So the idea is that you can really feel what your plane's doing a lot more. And for me, I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions about this, I'm sure. So obviously, one is how practical is it? It's actually quite practical. It works really well. It connects to the chair pretty easily. There's a lot of cabling, but you can hide that out of the way, and they do send some cable ties. One thing to make sure is that your chair is not rattly. If you have some of those levers and they're kind of old and they rattle up and down, that's going to be a bit of a problem for you because your chair is going to rattle pretty badly, and that's going to be irritating. Mine doesn't because it's actually a brand new chair. So yeah, make sure you don't have anything rattling on your chair like that. The next thing is going to be how loud is it? It isn't loud in terms of actual sound being loud, but it is vibrations that will cause you the issue. If you're on a wooden floor, that could be a bit of a problem. If you are on a second or third floor and above somewhere where you don't really want the vibrations to be going down, there are things you can do like mats you can buy to put your chair on, try and help insulate it. If you've got carpet, that will help. Unfortunately, it is going to make some sound. I mean, vibrations travel. That's pretty obvious. It doesn't. So you aren't going to get angry neighbours really because it doesn't go sideways or through walls, but it will go down because obviously your chair's on the floor and the vibrations are going through your chair. So it kind of sounds like, for me, if I'm in the room below, it just kind of sounds like someone's got a washing machine on upstairs, something like that. It's just a very low rumble, depending on how high you turn it up, and I'll get to that. It's noticeable, and like my family know it's there, but they don't particularly care. They actually think it's quite cool, and that they know all about the flight simulation hobby, and that this really adds immersion. But if you do have people who are really concerned about noise, and that could be a problem, it is something to consider because there's only so much you can do to dampen it. It's not disruptive for me anyway. I don't find the sound at all disruptive in rooms below, but it is there. So what sort of settings do you have? You can adjust things. It does have a simple volume sensor, a volume, two buttons, volume up and down, and you get a remote you can plug into the amplifier and put on the desk to easily get access to those. You have a low filter cutoff and a high filter cutoff to roll off either low or high frequencies. I haven't particularly fiddled with those. I haven't found they made a hell of a lot of difference, to be honest. There's also a knob in between those two, which is your adjustable, so you can basically tell it, for example, if you put it at 40 hertz and then you press the high filter cutoff, everything above 40 would be cut off. Again, haven't really found it made a lot of difference, so mine are both off and the filter knob is just set to about 40, which is what they recommend. Um, this works really well with the PMDGs, especially if you use it in conjunction with sim sounds. So I send the aircraft and sim sounds with sim sounds at a volume of like 40-50%, something like that in my volume mixer through to the butt kicker. Sim sounds is a piece of software that is partly designed for butt kickers in that certain events will trigger certain sounds, and they're particularly bassy sounds designed for the butt kicker, i.e. gear up or engine throttle up, touchdown. But the PMDGs also do a good job, and they have some sort of sounds in there that are really useful as well. So I send both through, and I think together they're quite a good combination. You do sometimes have to fiddle a bit with the volume. Sometimes I'll turn it up a little bit when we're on the ground just so I can feel those engines idling and then take off. And I'll turn it down a bit in cruise, especially if you're on a long flight. You know, you don't need to feel that constant, really definite rumble for 8 hours. You might want to turn it down so it's just a gentle rumble and it's kind of nice. It is obviously nice. It adds a little bit of immersion if you're on those long flights, because if you get turbulence or when you do a step climb, you just feel those things a little bit more. And I've definitely found it keeps you in tune with the aircraft on approach, because you can really feel it as well as hear it. Okay, my engines are spooling down. Okay, they're spooling up. You can feel the flaps, the amount of drag. I'll give you an example. You know, the other day we did a go around, and for whatever reason, FSFO Flight Simulator First Officer Pro was supposed to pull the gear up. It said gear up, but for whatever reason, it didn't come up. And you know, I was passing like 2,000, and I thought, well, this aircraft feels very sort of. There's a lot of drag on it. I'm really feeling it. And it turned out the gear was still out, and as soon as when I pulled it up, I could really feel it that the gear had gone back up. So just little things that it does help you we kind of in tune with it. And you know, as you put out your flaps notch by notch, you will feel these kind of rumble increase. Um, so you know, is it worth it for me? Absolutely yes. I would not fly without this thing now. If I fly without it, my simulator feels kind of dead. Um, you know, is it for everybody? Absolutely not. It depends on your location. And it depends, you know, how far you want to go with flight sim. Some people might not want this. Some people might have other conditions, of course, other than visual impairments, which might this thing might not be the best for. It really depends. You know, you'd have to kind of assess that. Given that it does kind of vibrate your chair a lot. Yeah, and again, also make sure you've got a good enough chair to handle it. It's relatively easy to set up. You don't have to use any external software. I use SimSounds, as I say. Um, so yeah, I think it's really increased the immersion, and I definitely want to fly more with this installed. Like I say, it's important not to expect too much. It's not going to, you know, like if you get turbulence through this thing, it's not going to feel like turbulence in the real aircraft. But you can definitely tell that it's turbulence. You can tell that it's there. Um, and you do get the bumps going on, and you can think, yeah, this is turbulence, and you can even think, yeah, this is moderate turbulence, or this is bad. And those kind of details were exactly what I was aiming for, because it's sometimes difficult due to with the sound to know how the touchdown was. You know, I mean, you feel it when the nose gear goes down, you feel it if you bounce. And whilst it might not be exactly like mimicking the real thing, obviously it's using sound, which is obviously not what the real aircraft does. It's very very authentic in some ways. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth it in the right conditions. And yeah, I'm very glad I purchased it. I think it's really helped my flight sim setup. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I need to say about it. There's a lot of videos online going through exactly what comes in the box and how to set it up. There's various cables that I didn't use that would probably allow you to link this up to something else like a stereo, a TV. I mean, this is not for flight simulation specifically. Sim racers use it. I mean, you can use it as in a home theater system. You can even just play music through your speakers and sit here and feel it coming through. I don't do that. I use it purely just for flight sim, for the realism and to mimic that it's just a flight sim device kind of thing. You know, this is my flight sim setup. But you could use it for all kinds of purposes. So yeah, that's my thoughts really. And other than that, all that's left to say is if I don't stream before the end of the year, 2021, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've all enjoyed this year. Feel free to comment with any questions about it. I'll do my best to answer them. Um, and yeah, have a great rest of your day. Stop this here.